Frontlines Fuel of War looks like a typical run-of-the-mill mid-2000s FPS campaign game, and I always found those fun to blast through in a day or two, so I picked this up for a few dollars. The premise and story is simple. It's just a battle over oil and resources. Americans and Russians, one reason or another, fighting for territory and power. It's all obviously extremely cliche and formulaic. The characters, especially, are the most cookie-cutter dude-bro military guys imaginable. It plops you into some battlefield, and the first impression isn't really amazing. The graphics are not good, even for the standards of 2008. I've seen games from 2003 look more visually impressive with better shadows, shaders, and color palettes in this game. It's not much to look at. So you're dropped into these missions, where you just look around and follow objective markers, in maps which are kind of reminiscent of the Battlefield games, sort of open-ended map-type levels. Usually you just have multiple objectives to complete, and you can do them in any order you want. Most of the objectives in the game comprise of, go to this area and stand in this spot and capture the area, or blow this up, or defend this place. That's basically all there really is for the objectives. Every level looks the same. I can't really remember or tell them apart. One level is at nighttime with a sniper that was kind of fun. Another level starts you off in a helicopter, but the controls were so abysmal, I crashed the heli and then just ignored using it, and continued on foot as usual. But at least there is a degree of freedom in how to approach the missions. The shooting mechanics really aren't that great either. The default assault rifle is downright terrible and next to useless. The accuracy system works in a way that you have to stand still for a moment, then wait for the crosshair to get tightened up so you're more accurate. So it does attempt to have some nuanced gun mechanics and accuracy system. It's just not that fun to use, and just way too generic. And the guns themselves kind of suck and aren't satisfying. The game handles death and loadout strangely too. When you die, it'll say, deployments remaining. So it basically has a live system, and you just respawn somewhere, never actually losing any progress. It's kind of like respawning in a multiplayer match. I've never actually ran out of lives and gotten a game over, so I don't know what happens there. But even weirder is the game actually does have a loadout system, where you can change what weapon you get, but only after you've died. It doesn't ask what loadout you want at the start of the mission, and you can only check to see what guns you can get after you die, as each mission has different available loadouts. I mostly use the sniper and shotgun the whole game. The shotgun is actually kind of satisfying, as it has a chunky sound effect, and the enemies ragdoll away dramatically. There are frequent times where you have to blow up tanks or helicopters, so it becomes necessary to either pick up a rocket launcher, or spawn with one by first dying, and then choosing the anti-tank loadout. There's also quite a bit of driving and vehicles in this game, if you choose to. One mission is entirely dedicated to tanks, but other than that, it's like a multiplayer match of Battlefield, where you just run around this big map and enter vehicles as you want, mostly just tanks. But the tank controls, and especially the enemy tank AI, is kind of annoying, where the enemy tanks will be able to aim at you inhumanly fast, and you just end up exchanging rockets, and it kind of sucks. There's always some random NPC squad following you around, but they don't really follow you around, it's more like they just randomly spawn next to you sometimes. They can be a good distraction, and be used as human shields basically. The game tries to put a lot of emphasis on drones and gadgets, as I guess some way to prove to the audience that they have some gimmick about the game, and the game tries to do something different. But I never really cared. It's just a dumb novelty that is basically just like another rocket launcher in disguise. The enemy AI is also really stupid and unchallenging, and not very fun. You can mostly just sprint past them and take cover slightly ahead of them, and they will rarely not even chase after you, or flank you or anything. This is another game with the example of enemies that aren't actual threats, but more like a minor annoyance like mosquitoes or something. It has a regenerating health system, and playing games like this nowadays really is just showing the triviality of such a system. You take damage and you just find some object that exploits the AI long enough until you can regain health. Then you just sprint past all the enemies and on to the next objective. In fact, the enemies in this game aren't so much challenging threats, but again, it's more like the typical badly designed game where you can just sprint past all the enemies and make them trivial, which is what I did for most of the game, and it worked. Not sure what else to say except it's really short. HowLongToBeat.com said it was 5 hours long. Well, I beat it in 2 sessions at a total of 3 hours. Since the game is so short, it wasn't like an awful boring experience or anything, but the gameplay really just is not a great example of an amazing FPS campaign. And because of the poor graphics even for its time, the mediocre weapon mechanics, and forgettable levels, it's a very average or bad game. The ending was also really underwhelming. You just defend some area for like a minute and it rolls the credits. It's funny how they try to imply that it's not over yet, as if there's going to be a sequel. Like they really expected people to be clamoring for more of this kind of game. Still, it's an alright action game to mindlessly play over the weekend, I guess. 5 out of 10.
People ask me how we let this happen. I tell them, we always knew.